Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're going to talk about 5 must-know Excel functions for data analysis. But here's the thing. These functions aren't just random tools. They belong to families. Think of it like this. One family helps you find information. Another makes decisions. Another cleans up messy data. One makes data look good. And the last one helps you analyze data with conditions. By the end of this lesson, you'll know them all. Let's dive in. We will use a simple employee dataset to demonstrate each function. The link to the spreadsheet can be found in the description. The lookup family, VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, and INDEX+MATCH. Imagine your boss says, "Can you quickly find the salary of employee ID 104? Instead of scrolling through hundreds of rows, you want Excel to act like a search engine. That's the lookup family. Here's how to get salary using VLOOKUP. Click cell H2. Type an equal sign. This tells Excel you're entering a formula. Type the VLOOKUP function. I enter the value you're looking for. Here it's 104. Select the range that contains your data. Enter A2:E10. Type the column number of the result. The result is in the 5th column of the table. Type false to tell Excel you want an exact match. Press enter. Excel will return the value from the 5th column of the row where 104 was found. Now imagine your boss says, "Can you quickly find the name of the employee whose salary is $55,000? With VLOOKUP, you're stuck. It can only look to the right. But XLOOKUP is smarter. It can look left or right. How to do it with XLOOKUP? Click the cell where you want the answer, say H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the XLOOKUP function. Enter the value you're searching for. Here it's the salary, 55,000. Select the range to search in the lookup array. Here it's salaries in E2 to E8. Select the range to return from the return array. Here it's names in B2 to B8. Press enter. Excel returns the name of the employee whose salary is 55,000, even though the names are to the left of the salary column. You could use VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, but there's also an older but powerful combo, INDEX+MATCH. Match first finds the row number where your value is. Index then returns the value from the column you specify. How to find the salary of the employee with ID 104 using INDEX+MATCH. Click the cell where you want the answer, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the index function and specify the return column. Here we want salaries in E2 to E8. Use match to find the position of the employee ID. I'll look for 104 in the IDs column A2. 8. Type 0 for an exact match. Press enter. Excel finds a row where ID 104 appears and returns the salary from column E. The logic family, if, nested ifs, and IFS. Let's say you want to categorize employees based on their salaries. Maybe label them as high, medium, or low earners. That's exactly what the if function can do. How to do it with if? Click the cell where you want the result, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the if function and your condition. Check if the salary in E2 is greater than 60,000. If true, return high. If false, return low. Press enter. Excel will display high if the salary in E2 is more than 60,000. Otherwise, it will display low. Drag the fill handle down to apply the same logic to the other rows. But what if you want more than 2 categories? High, medium, and low. Here's how you do it with nested if. Click the cell where you want the result, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Write your first if for the highest category. If the salary in E2 is greater than 69,000, return high. Inside the else part, add another if for the next category. If the salary in E2 is greater than 54,000, return medium. Finally, if neither condition is met, return low. One if is placed inside another, and that's why we call them nested. But long chains of if can get messy. That's where the IFS function helps. How to do it with IFS? Click the cell where you want the result, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the IFS function and list your conditions and results in order. If the salary in E2 is greater than 69,000, return high. If the salary in E2 is greater than 54,000, return medium. If the salary in E2 is less than or equal to 54,000, return low. Press Enter. Excel will show high, medium, or low based on the salary in E2 all without nesting if. Drag the fill handle down to apply the same logic to other rows. The cleanup family, trim and proper. You're working with employee regions, but some rows have messy entries. For example, West in our spreadsheet have extra spaces. Here's where trim comes in. Click the cell where you want the clean text, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the trim function with the cell reference that has extra spaces. Press Enter. Excel will return the text from C2 with all leading, trailing, and extra spaces between words removed, leaving only single spaces. Drag the fill handle down to clean up other cells as well. But cleanup doesn't stop there. Sometimes names are typed in all caps or all lowercase, like John Smith. How to do it with proper. Click the cell where you want the formatted text, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the proper function with the cell reference. Here it is cell B2. You want to clean up. Press Enter. Excel will return the text from B2 with the first letter of each word capitalized and the rest in lowercase. Drag the fill handle down to apply the same formatting to other cells. The formatting family, text and date. How to extract month plus year from a date. Click the cell where you want the formatted date, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the text function. D2 is the cell with the original date. Y tells Excel to show the short month name and 4-digit year. Press Enter. Excel will display the date in month-year format. Drag the fill handle down to apply the same formatting to other cells. Now, let's say you want to know how long someone has worked since their hire date. How to do it with date difference. Click the cell where you want the number of years, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the datif function. D2 is the cell with the employee start date. Today automatically uses the current date. Y tells Excel to return the number of full years between the two dates. Press Enter. Excel will display how many complete years have passed since the date in D2. Drag the fill handle down to calculate the years for other rows. The conditional analysis family, SUMIFS and COUNTIFS. Your boss asks, what's the total salary for the sales department in the West region? A plain sum won't work. It adds everything. Here's SUMIFS. Click the cell where you want the total, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the SUMIFS function. E2 colon E8 is the range of values you want to sum. C2 colon C8 West is the first criteria range. D2 colon D8 sales is the second criteria range. Press Enter. Excel will total all values in E2 to E8 where region equals West and department equals sales. Or what if you just want a head count? Use COUNTIFS. Click the cell where you want the count, for example H2. Type an equal sign to start a formula. Type the COUNTIFS function. C2 colon C8 is the range you're checking. South is the condition you're counting. Press Enter. Excel will return the number of rows in C2 to C8 where the value equals South. This tells you how many employees are in the South region. If you learn these 5 families, you'll unlock the power to handle almost any dataset in Excel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more structured learning sessions.